family first moved to the 3400 block of Bryn Mawr in 1936 when I was 3 years old. We were the furthest north house, and I could sit on the back porch and watch Northwest Highway traffic. Since that time, between the culture has changed and that the city grew out and completed its construction of houses and parks and recreation areas into the 1960s when I decided to stay here. Houses were very difficult to come by, just as they have been this year. They were hard to purchase. But a neighbor of mine called me and said that the Russells have just been transferred to Houston today. I called Mr. Russell and went over to his house and bought his house that afternoon in the 3400 block of Bryn Mawr because it was hard to find them, and frankly, my father was still living in our original family home, and this was only 3 doors away, and that allowed me to keep him in his home and for the rest of his life. But the culture changed in that we had basically a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,900 square foot old English home, and all of the other homes started being larger and larger and larger until we got past the 1960s, and when the redevelopment started in the city, they became much, much larger. Instead of a 1,900 square foot house, you had a 7,000 or 8,000 square foot house. But it was because of our city and our school district that the demand was there for those folks to be there. My kids absolutely loved growing up in University Park. They could walk and ride bicycles to the school. They made great friends. They had good friends as neighbors that are lifelong friends. As a matter of fact, my son has moved back to University Park and lives only 2 blocks from us. I went to Highland Park High School and then walked up to SMU and enrolled there. And after 4 years, I hadn't decided what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I took the easy way out and went to graduate school. So I got an MBA from Stanford University in 1957. I came back to Dallas. I actually had an offer to go to work in San Francisco, but I decided that I really wanted to get back to the Dallas area and University Park area, and so I turned that offer down and came back and was hired by IBM in data processing sales, and I spent 11 years with IBM. When they offered me a transfer and a promotion, I turned it down, resigned from the company so that I could stay in the area. That was a very conscious decision, and one that I've loved ever since. I went with a small service bureau for a couple of years and then had an opportunity to get into real estate development with a fraternity brother from SMU with me, which I did. And so I spent the last 50 some odd years developing real estate, doing construction, management, leasing, all the things that go with it. And frankly, I still own a half a dozen buildings, and I still go into an office a couple of times a week to take care of things, which is very fulfilling to me to be able to see that progression. The church my family joined Highland Park Methodist Church. The Reverend Tom Shipp was there and as an assistant pastor, and he was my basketball and softball coach for the church. And he ended up marrying us when I got married. We asked Dr. Shipp to marry Sally and me in Perkins Chapel on the SMU campus. He then became pastor of Lover's Lane Methodist Church, and we followed him there for a while, and it loved every bit of what he did for us. Then we became further, we went to Northwest Bible Church. We felt like that our kids needed more basic Bible teaching than the Methodist Church was providing at that time, and we've been there ever since. Well, I'll go back a little bit. I served on the city council from 1996 to 2002, and then I became mayor in 2014 through 2020. My timing was immaculate because just as I stepped down, the pandemic set in and changed everything. What has changed in that period of time since I was mayor is that we've recognized that we really have a serious problem with storm water control. When I was mayor, we did a couple of things. With the help of a resident who paid most of the bill, we put in a automatic lowering dam below Williams Park, which automatically, as soon as it starts rising, it automatically lowers to let the water down Turtle Creek. We also put in a reservoir under Caruth Park that holds 11 acre feet of water. So because the northeast portion of our city was the most affected by storm water in flash floods, it took a lot of rain in a short period of time, but we get those, and when they did, they would get up into the yards, never in the houses, but sometimes in the backyards, that water. But when we put that in, that really helped that whole area. But it also pointed out that the city needed to address the area south of Southwestern and Turtle Creek because there is still a lot to be done in that area, and that is the focal point of infrastructure. Also, what has gone on is the redevelopment of Snyder Plaza, and the bringing of the infrastructure there that was put in 1927 has now been replaced and still has a challenge for parking, but those are problems are being solved, and trying to work with the owners of the buildings in Snyder Plaza is difficult because there are multiple owners with multiple agendas. But the current council and mayor are doing a marvelous job of shepherding that down the road to further fruition and beautification of that area. The next 10, 15 years is going to be a real challenge because basically the city, most of the infrastructure was started in 100 years ago. We have a program of replacing water and sewer at a mile a year, and that program has gone on for some time. But there's 80 miles of water and sewer lines, so it will be a continuing process of keeping the infrastructure up. We're certainly built out with all of the houses. There's no more vacant lots, and it's all a tear down type of facility. And whenever you tear down a 2,000 square foot house and put up an 8,000 square foot, you lose all of the permeable land, so more water goes down into the streets. So we will continue to be challenged with keeping that water in the proper channels. I will say that one of the biggest challenges that we have is our state legislature. They have a way of, in this last session, they took away the rights of the cities to make decisions. There are 1,200 cities. All of them have, in the state of Texas, and all of them have different requirements and needs. And the state legislature decided that they could do better by controlling it, what we could do with that. That is actually just an impossible situation. They've also crippled us with a 3.5% rise in tax. Nobody likes taxes, but on the other hand, as inflation goes on, the city must keep up with it. The products are more expensive, the personnel are more expensive. There's a need to have more than that 3.5% annual tax increase that the legislature thought in their eminent way was enough, but it isn't. They also have a tendency in Austin to pass unfunded mandates, put requirements on city and don't provide any of the money for it. So we're not happy with the state legislature. In the future, hopefully things will change with that. The school system has been dynamic for all of these years. I served on facilities committee twice. We were misled by some of the demographers as to how many people would be in there in the schools. But regardless, we have redone all of the elementary schools, and they are magnificent with their redesign and the new work at the middle school and the high school, and the emphasis on the STEM program at the high school is just outstanding. Our kids in this school system are eminently prepared to go on to college, and about 99% of them do and succeed, and are well prepared for that next step. Do not need to see, I do not see a need for additional schools. I think we have the capacity in all of the schools to handle what the student enrollment is. One of the greatest areas of our city is our public service. Police and fire department are absolutely critical to our city. We do not have the problem of recruitment. People know that this is a great place to work, and we get plenty of applications for open positions. In the latest survey that we sent to our citizens, the fire department was rated 99%. The police department was 97.5%. They were just outstanding. And the fire department, the statistics show that our EMS, our fire department ambulance service, averages less than 4 minutes per call. When you call, it's less than 4 minutes on an average that they're at your house. The police is less than 3 minutes. The difference is the police are scattered out throughout the city. They can get there quicker. the fire department always starts from City Hall, but these are magnificent numbers, and some of the larger cities in our area, you're looking at 2 and 3 day response rather than 4 and 5 minute responses for all of that, which is just priceless for our citizens. The parks are just a gem for our city. We have a great parks department. They do a magnificent job of keeping them up. We supply the playgrounds for the YMCA as opposed to our sister city. They get heavy use. The tennis courts are hard to get a place to play. They're well used. The city has rebuilt some of the tennis courts for the new pickleball craze, and that is getting good use. And the playgrounds are just magnificent. You just can't go to the park without them just being fully packed when it isn't school time. And also the Parks Department puts on a fishing tournament at Caruth Park each summer. We had actually 2 of them this year, and you almost have to draw a number to get a place to get around the pool to catch a fish. And it is really well received, and people just love it. So our park systems are really a jewel for this city. We have very limited retail in our city. There are basically 3 areas. There's Snyder Plaza, Miracle Mile, and Preston Road East. That takes care of most of our retail. The problem is only in Preston Road East is there one owner. You have a multitude of owners in Miracle Mile and Snyder Plaza, so it is difficult to get anything accomplished for the good of the center. There are too many conflicting ideas of what needs to be done, as opposed to Preston Center East, which is one owner. They're very capable of handling it, and they do a great job of what they've got. We actually made a deal with them to give them some extra right-of-way land, and we ended up with a couple of stories in their building for our library, which we had been trying to put in for several years. And the library is there in that area and is really done a magnificent job for our citizens. There has always been a concern about the cost of a library up until the turn of the century. There was a thought that it was a financial black hole, that there would be no way for it to be self-sustaining. That's been true. It does take a lot of money to run a library, but now that we have it, I think everybody is very, very happy with it. The YMCA was an interesting event. We actually started out, it was in an old home in Gore Park, right behind City Hall. I joined it then when it was first came to the University Park, and I'm a founding member of the YMCA. And then they got some land given to them on Preston Road, and they moved over there, and they came up with a plan for enlarging that. And the neighbors came out with signs too big. It'll never work in this area. And there was quite a contested fight over that, but eventually the Y prevailed, and was given underground parking, and all of the fears of the neighbors went away once it opened. And it's been a magnificent addition to our city. You know, when I was mayor, we had a problem with DART, and we knew that we would never be in line for a rail station since the rail doesn't go through our city. When we started with DART, we had 12 bus routes. When I was mayor, we were down to 2, but we were still providing them 1% of our sales tax every year. I spent 3.5 years in conjunction with Joel Williams, the Highland Park mayor, pounding on them that they were not fair to us. We eventually ended up with a system where they have rebated to us 41% of what we pay them. And that it comes in at a little over $2 million a year, which we have to use for improving traffic and mobility in our city. But that's easy enough to do with all of our streets and stoplights and things like that. The other thing that proud of is that we were able to go to the state legislature and get legislation passed to change our firefighters' pension program. The firefighters' pension program was a albatross around our necks. It was unfunded by several $1 million, and there was no way that we could reasonably pay it off. And on the other hand, all of the other employees of the city are in the state retirement program, and TMRS, Texas Municipal Retirement System. And we were able to convince the firemen, and they had to vote for it, that we would guarantee the current firefighters their pensions, but that any new firefighter came in would have to be in TMRS. And they finally agreed to it, and we had to testify before the House and before the Senate, but both houses of the state unanimously approved our change to that program, and now we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're not desperate like the city of Dallas is, as you read in the papers today. We have it well under control, and TMRS is a very solid, fine operation for all of our employees, and it has worked out wonderful. Yes, one of the biggest fights we had was what was known as the Chase Bank building at Daniel and Hillcrest. And we were in a lawsuit with an owner of that because the city denied him extra parking places to the west of that building. But the building had become derelict, and there was actually a fellow that part-time lived in there when they couldn't catch him. And it was taken off of the tax rolls. It was a very valuable piece of property, had very little value to it. We had a developer that came in and bought that property and presented a program to put in a multi-story office building with underground parking and a little bit above ground parking, and the neighborhood was unanimously against that. And yet it was a it was obvious to me and the city council that this was the way we needed to go. There were a lot of yard signs out. Why aren't you listening to us, Mayor? I was listening to them, but I just didn't agree with them. And we persevered, and now that has become a magnificent building and has provided additional parking places for Snyder Plaza. I use it all the time when I want to use Snyder Plaza, because you got a parking place free for an hour and $3 an hour after that, and that is just a wonderful addition to our city. Plus, it went on the tax rolls at a pretty hefty number.